You're listening to the Coffee Before You Talk to Me podcast, hosted by Bean Mug and Coffee Co.
Welcome to the Coffee Before You Talk to Me podcast, hosted by Bean Mug and Coffee Co. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Bean Mug and Coffee Co., as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. I am Jose, along with my friend Tom. Tom, who do we have with us today?
Jose, good to be back again for another episode, and a long-awaited guest for me, my good friend Sally Jane Smith from the Travelsmiths in Point Pleasant. Sally, it's great to have you here with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We've known Sally for, I've known her for a couple years, and Tom, I'm sure.
Tom has known her long enough for her to be one of the few people who gets to put an extra letter at the end of my name and call me Tommy. So we'll just leave it at that. It's been a while.
Yeah, and she's been in Point Pleasant, Travelsmiths, right over there on 88, and was it?
It's Johnson and Arnold Avenue and Ocean Road, I like to call it, instead of Route 88. It sounds so much nicer in Point Pleasant.
Been in business for over 30 years, and
yes, we're
going to dive into a lot of that. Ooh. And really excited. That being said, obviously the first question of the show is what gets you up in the morning?
Oh, well, my husband gets me up in the morning, and it's always a treat because you know what? He works from home now, and we have a date. So I wake up to, all right, don't get jealous, fresh squeezed orange juice, homemade coffee, of course, Bean Mug and Coffee. No, I'm serious about this. And then I have, what kind of omelet do you want? And he makes me homemade bread. And that's our date in the morning. And I have to tell you, it does get me up in the morning, gets me ready, and he's like, go take your shower, get ready. And I'm like a little princess getting ready. And Paul is just taking care of everything. He's phenomenal.
He is pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Paul's great.
If I got some service like that, I'd move in too.
But I guess like all of that though is like part of that mindset, right? Like just helps like prepare for the day and like that part of the structure in the morning, and just so that you can focus on things that you have to tackle for the day.
Right.
Realistically.
And you know what? He's really so supportive of what I do. I mean, we own the agency together. And he lets me run the show and do what I got to do. Mm-hmm. And huge support. And you have to be, we're best friends besides lovers. And it's really important. So it makes me smile when I get up in the morning.
That's
great. Makes me happy.
I love it. Especially, listen, like I'm going to ask the question, and I think I know the answer. How long have you guys been married now?
Well, it'll be 37 years this November 15th. And we'll be together 42 years this January.
I think that's pretty impressive.
And also, you know what he says? Never a fight. He has won.
And then for those who don't know, Travelsmiths is a travel agency. I mean, and you've been in business for how many years now?
Well, I started in 1986 as an independent contractor and didn't know really anything. Was a bartender forever. And I wanted a people person kind of job. And I was just about to get married, and I had an incident that happened. I was at the nightclub at the Polo Club, and I was dancing with my husband's little brother a week before our wedding, and some guy came up to me and clocked me. He took me down, and he broke my bone in my eye. It was actually on this side, and it was in between my eye and my jaw, so it was broken right here. And I had plastic surgery 4 days after my wedding. I didn't go into a bar for quite some time.
I could imagine. And I could also imagine why you would want to stop working in bars all the time after that too.
So I looked for an ad that said in the paper, it said, no experience necessary. Are you a people person? I go, I'm a people person. I could do this. And that's how I started to find out to see if I could do that job.
Right. That's awesome. And it kind of just fit in, obviously, with yours and Paul's love for travel.
Oh, and we like to travel.
Oh, that's the truth. That is absolutely the truth.
If anybody follows me on Instagram and Facebook on Travelsmiths, we'll see how many things do.
We'll make sure before we're done, we let everybody know where they can do that if they're not already doing it. But it's good stuff. You can live vicariously through Sally. I try to do that every week or so.
So I think what's interesting here is obviously, so we're talking about a business now that's well over 30, 36, 37 years, right? Mm-hmm. So, any business that survives that long, like, is just shows like a true testament of like, how it's run and growth and adapting and changing, all of that stuff. But what makes it even more unique is that we're talking about like the travel industry. Like you were on prior to all the travel websites and then survived through the pivot of all those travel websites and still surviving. So,
We had a lot, we've had a lot of ups and downs for sure in our world.
Yeah.
And, we were home based, and I worked for a regular agency, and that was storefront. And then I had babies and I went home based, and I started to grow and really grow. And I thought I really was growing. And Paul would come home some days and I'd still be in my pajamas. And I'm like, but it was so busy today, Paul. He's like, Sal, you got to take a shower and get dressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
but I had the babies and I had the kids and I had this. And I thought I was busy then. No.
That's
No,
interesting.
yeah, it's continued to get busier. It's wild too. Knowing Sally as long as I have, seeing the growth from you guys, being in the downstairs of your house at one point with just a couple, you and Janice when she was with us.
Oh, yeah.
And whoever else you had working at that point, it was super cool. And then, to see the business grow into the office building that you're in now is pretty
Well,
awesome.
he was, and a little story about that. There were 6 of us out of the house by that time. And we lived at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
And Paul came home a couple hours early at 3:30, and the joint was jumping. And I'm like, oh, hi, babe. What are you doing? He goes, I live here. I'm like, oh, it's a little busy right now. I said, there's a couple people upstairs. And he goes, okay, I just wanted to tell you. And he gets to the top of the stairs, and I have one agent at the kitchen table and one agent at the dining room table, both with clients.
Oh boy.
And he looks around. He comes back downstairs quietly, and he goes, babe, we need to have a conversation tonight at 7:00. I'm like, okay. Now we live with my mom. It was a mother-daughter, and it was beautiful. And 8:45, I came strolling upstairs. He's like, downstairs. So he told me, you got to move, because he told me that his car was parked 2 houses away from ours. There was 13 cars outside. It was like we were having a party on a
That's
Wednesday
crazy.
afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
He said, the neighbors are going to start getting mad. I said, well, then you need to buy me a building, because I didn't want to rent.
Yep.
I had talked to other agencies, and all they were doing was dumping their money in for rent. So we were going to buy. I said, if we're going to do that, we're going to buy. So we were going to be putting up this beautiful kitchen. His mom had passed away. We got some money. We were going to do a beautiful kitchen, and it went up like this. Looks good. So he didn't get his kitchen, but I got a building.
Yeah.
And there were 6 of us, and I was scared stiff. I
Yeah.
didn't know how it was going to work. I didn't know if we were going to be successful. And that was in 2000. That was in 2006. So we bought it in 5 and opened in 2006.
So I guess to dial back a little bit to the beginning here. So you started in 86.
Mhm.
You worked for a travel agency
I did. I worked as an independent contractor.
as an independent
Mhm.
contractor. And then when did you start your own agency at that point?
So in 86, I was at Old Mill Travel back in the day on Route 35 in Seagirt. And I was there for years, and from 86 to 92.
Okay.
And then 92, and then she sold the business, and that was fine because I almost bought it, and I'm glad I didn't, because I wasn't ready. And
Okay.
then I went over to Travel Plaza, and I was with Sandy, the owner over there. She's lovely. From 92 to 98. 98? 98. 97. I think it was 97. 97.
Okay.
And I went on some beautiful familiarization trip, and I told this woman all these things I did, and she's like, you could own your own travel agency. I'm like, I could? And she's like, yes. So I came home and I did some research. Then I had to tell Sandy that I was leaving her, and she's like, it was just about a matter of time. You were going to figure it out, because she knew this is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out on my own in 98, and then I hired my girlfriend Janice. Meanwhile, my girls were little girls. They were Girl Scouts. They were soccer. So I was always running and doing. And at those days, you didn't have a cell phone. You had a pager.
Yeah.
And people would leave messages on my voicemail, and they knew my life. But they weren't starting to think about travel until nighttime anyway, by the time they got home from work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about it during the day.
I would imagine that it probably moved at a much slower pace in those days too.
Well, we had to the
Because
ORG book,
yeah.
which is our hotel book, OHG, that we used to have. It was this thick. It was massive.
And people couldn't really do their own research in
No.
those days. So it's now people are, if you don't get back to them quicker,
Yeah.
quick enough, if they don't know you yet, obviously if they know you and they've used your service before, they're coming back. But if it's the first time and they're calling Travelsmiths and they're not getting a response because you're running around like crazy or something, if it was the now current time.
Well, it
living
was
like that,
different. It was definitely
totally
different then.
Yeah.
So then you start your own Travelsmiths like around that 98,
Yep.
99,
98. Uh-huh.
And what were some of the earlier challenges you faced at that point?
Well, you still had to handwrite tickets.
Like plane tickets?
Plane tickets.
Handwritten?
We were handwriting tickets in the 80s and partial of the 90s.
Wow.
And then, they still, depending on what agency you had, so you could push out the tickets, but some were handwritten. And that wasn't very accurate, so that wasn't good. But that was fine because I did learn.
Yep.
I learned a lot, because I know I can sell. And it was very passionate for me. I loved to bartend and I made a drink the way I would want it to be made for me, for everybody I made it for. And that's how I did my travel. That's how I did my house. That's how I did my life and my brain, because I want to please people. I'm a people pleaser, but the way I like it. And the point being is that travel, there are so many components. And now that we went from books and phone calls, and your neck would hurt you. So I bought that little thing,
Yeah, I remember
a little rubber thing.
Probably
and then
the
I bought a
thing
headset.
And then you probably the thing that didn't let the cord curl up
Yep.
or get tangled too.
That's,
Right?
they
Remember
still
that?
have that's still active.
I
That's
didn't know phones had cords anymore.
yeah. We still
and
have
they
them.
and they would laugh at me when I came walking in. I go, but my neck doesn't hurt.
Yeah. 'Cause you're on the phone you're
All
on the phone
day
all day
long.
now. I can only imagine what it was like before you were sending emails and looking things up on the internet to get
Yeah.
information. It was
So
crazy.
it was funny you say that because when I went over to Old Mill Travel, Paul brought me home a compact computer. It was this big, thick, and the screen was this big.
Yeah.
So I was working off a computer. I'm like, oh my God, DOS, right?
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that's what it was
yeah.
called. I can't remember. But, I didn't know whenever that was going to stop. But when I would talk to people, sometimes I remember the first time I was working for Patty McGreevy, and she said, "You waste too much time with people." She goes, your time is worth more than that. Because I would talk to somebody for 2 hours or whatever. I said, well, one day they're going to book. One day they're going to book because they're going to trust me, because I'm going to find out about it. So I started going on little trips. I went to Aruba twice. And I'm like, we can't keep coming to Aruba. We need to find more places to go to. That was in the late 90s that we started to really start to move. Or late, I guess it was early, Sammy, I was pregnant. So it was early 90s. I
90s.
started that. And we didn't get as many opportunities as I have now,
Of course.
but, or my team has. My team has a ton. But it took a long time for me to grow. And I had myself and Janice, and we just kept growing. We did our Girl Scouts and travel. And then the computers started getting a little better. Now we both had computers. That was exciting. Still had tickets that were handwritten. It was funny. And then we moved from Lakewood, because we were in Lakewood,
Yeah, to Point Pleasant.
over to
right?
Point Pleasant, where I grew up. I grew up in Point.
Still in Point Pleasant. Now the office and everything, which is super cool. So you kind of stay
love
home
it.
base there in Point Pleasant.
I
But that's
love
pretty
it.
wild. I mean, I could see where writing tickets would be a challenge. Getting people information would probably be pretty tough back then.
You had to
too,
call
right? Yeah.
cruise lines. You had to call everybody. There was no emails, no going online and booking anything.
But that's what I love about, and our sign already went out, so obviously we're gonna need batteries.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
right.
think,
I'll lighten it up.
I think what's interesting though is that like going back, they're like you're wasting too much time with people, but you just value the experience more because it's an experience.
Yeah.
You're not selling it. That's your sales tactic though. It's just enhancing that experience. And then the other thing is, as far as there's no shortcuts, right? So by learning all this stuff like longhand and plain ticket writing and this and that, like I just feel like you get so much more experience of like what things go right, when things go wrong, how to really solve these problems because you're in it versus the digital age that is now.
Well, yeah. I mean, I could only imagine, like, everything isn't perfect all the time in anything. And everybody has an issue, and somebody goes on a trip and there's a hiccup here or there for whatever the reason is. But I can only imagine what it's like for the person who goes on a trip and runs into some sort of roadblock, whatever it may be, and their travel agent is somebody who doesn't know how to pick up the phone and get the right person on the phone and get to where they need to be, or if their travel agent is just the internet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, or
so
about that.
your experience of having done this before all the travel sites, or I know now, like, it seems like you can go online and do this and that and become a travel agent. I've seen people have that kind of stuff or whatever. So your experience with doing it the old school way, I guess, even today, puts you just head and shoulders over everybody else, because you know how to talk to people, and you know the ins and the outs, and who you got to get to, and how to get them all the right information that they need without just going on a website and looking it up.
Well, it's interesting how you just said that, because when I went to Old Mill Travel, Patty McGreevy was the owner there, and she had a flowered shirt on and a big bow, and I thought I looked very professional. I went to Joyce Leslie and got my most professional dress,
Love
had a
that.
little slit in it, my hair in chopsticks with a little bun and red candies, and I came rolling in, right? I was so excited because my boss at that time was Tommy from the Headliner,
Yeah.
Tommy Sueda. And he said, go see my girl. And I did. And she was like, and I'm like sitting at the desk, I'm all excited. She goes, honey, you're going to do great. Because it was my personality she
Right.
liked.
Yeah.
She goes, I can teach you. She said, you're going to work for free. You're going to stock brochures, answer the phones, and I'm going to teach you. And I have to tell you, she taught me the front end like nobody's business. She was an amazing travel agent. She taught me no is never the answer.
Yeah.
You don't go. If somebody tells you no, you hang up and find somebody else that's going to say yes. You tell that story again and again until you get the right answer. And she was totally right. Totally right. So I love her for that. And then when I moved on and I went over to Sandy Lankin, who owns Travel Plaza, she's amazing. And she's a mind, this incredible mind for back office. Like, she really taught me the other side, which was so important for me. She's an incredible travel agent as well, but she really taught me the other side. And that's why she knew that eventually I was going to go out,
Right.
And that was, and she told me, Sally, keep your cruises here, start with your land, and keep growing it. And then eventually you move it all over. I said, okay. But she was smart, great lady. But between those two women, they really taught me really about this business.
And it sounds like taught you completely, different skill sets
Mhm.
that you need to do your job and to run your business. So,
Yeah.
and seems like, at least in the second experience, supportive of you going out and doing your own thing, which
Yeah.
I'm sure
Well, rising
helped.
tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
My husband says that all the time. And there's plenty of business to go around for each and every one of these travel advisors out there. Who are we in competition with? All right.
Well,
The internet, maybe, Expedia,
that's what
whatever.
I was going to ask you at this point. Like,
Yeah, go
do you
ahead.
find yourself competing now with, like, would you say your competitors are, the travel sites, like all of those travel sites, or is it other? I don't want to say like mom and pop travel agencies, but for lack of a better
Yeah.
term, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about like the big, like there's big box travel agencies.
Yeah, there's big
too.
box, there's small little mom and pops, there's home-based agents.
Yeah.
Oh, I was home-based forever.
Nothing wrong
I
with
went
that.
the opposite way. In 2006, I went storefront.
Right.
I was home-based forever. So I did it. A lot of agencies go storefront to home-based,
Right.
and I didn't. So back in the late 90s, I guess, early 2000s is when the internet really started to boom. And we were like trying to price match the internet. Like, we were afraid we were going to lose clients. Well, there is clients that are not our clients, because not every client is mine.
Correct.
And I don't want every client.
Truth be told, I don't sell coffee to everybody.
Yeah.
I just want that. I guess the
Yeah.
secret's out now.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, no, you're right though.
But so there's some that are internet people that believe in all of that. But when you go to these websites, you need to read page 42, section C, 3.12 or whatever, that states, and Expedia is one of them, that states that if you book with them, you might not be guaranteed that those flights are going to be the flights that you have or the hotel that you have. And I have had several things, because when we book as travel advisors, when we book with our tour operators, we have an agreement with them. They don't bump our clients. Who gets bumped? The
Expedia.
the
Yeah,
.coms.
.com.
Okay.
The .coms. I'm
Yeah.
not going to even say just Expedia. The .coms
All
too.
of them. I love it.
You know,
They're all the
and
same.
you know what?
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. But even with the .coms, they give their allotment to these small little hotels because they can't get the word out. So the big box has them in their portfolio, but some of our tour operators now have them. So, which is wonderful for us that we can offer some of these unique small destinations like the Maldives. Over there, there's so many little hotels. They need the support of the big box.
Right.
Mhm.
But our tour operators have this whole portfolio, which is wonderful.
I just can't imagine though, like my extent of knowledge of the Maldives is I remember you went to the Maldives
Mhm.
and I was like, that looks like a really cool trip. But I can't imagine like taking a trip like that around the world that's going to cost you a ton of money
Right.
and having gone on the internet and just go, this looks good. Let me book this.
Right. Because
Like,
the pictures look beautiful.
Because to me, it's like to me, one of those things that, listen, like if you're going to go on a road trip from New Jersey to Baltimore for a night and you're going to go online and book your hotel, go for it. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're going to take a trip like that and spend that kind of money,
Because you saw it on TikTok.
right. It's like I booked.
True.
It's like people that like when you
True.
ever see some people that go, oh, I bought a house sight unseen because I saw it on the internet. Like that just seems crazy. And I feel the same way about that because there's like so many like nuanced things that people want in their travel experience or don't want in their travel experience on top of the issues you brought up of getting bumped or the flights are wrong or whatever.
And I have that hotline phone. And,
correct.
And the hotline phone, it's called the bat phone, emergency call, whatever you want to call it. The bottom line, if there's a problem or hiccup, you need to call me.
Yep.
Because I can fix it a lot faster than you can. It doesn't help that you say, oh, I don't want to wake her. Oh, I don't want to do this. And then when you come home, you complain about it.
Right.
I can't
Doesn't
do
help.
anything now.
But you
I've
got
got to fight.
But that's part of the service.
And that's
right?
why people are still not just booking on the internet and booking with you and going to your agency and using you after 20 years because of the service. That's what it's really about.
And the whole thing is that, and we're over 30 years now.
30 years, sorry.
But the whole thing is that I've known you for over 20.
Yeah, that's it. You're aging me.
But the whole thing is that we provide a service. We are a concierge. We are a luxury travel agency. So we don't just book a cruise and your hotel and say goodbye. We start you from the beginning of your trip to when you come home and say you had a fabulous time. We do a complimentary consultation. We go and we ask a billion questions. And I have 26 of us now. So we have 14 incredible travel advisors that are experts all around the world, which is phenomenal for us.
Yeah.
And we have been a signature agency since 2012. And it was the best move I did for our agency. And it's a cooperative. So we're member owned. So we have a voice and we have a lot of preferred vendors that take care of us. They through COVID, the incident, I'll call it the incident. They helped us get money back for clients that other agencies could not get back.
That's impressive.
It was and hours, and I could go on about that, but I don't even want to. But the point is that when we get different amenities with Signature that we wouldn't get as another agency, like just to give you an example, I just booked an Azamara cruise, and it's going through Croatia, and our client has a choice of either a private car and driver in 3 different destinations, or a spa treatment and that private car and driver is valued between $750 and $950 for the day. Now you can pick the 4-hour one, or you could pick this 8-hour one.
I mean, the spa sounds nice, but
yeah,
I really want the private driver.
Private car and driver.
That's kind of what I'm looking
lifestyle
for.
of rich and famous, and it's
Nice.
beautiful, and it's
I'd like to know what
included.
that's like.
Plus, he got an onboard credit, so he's thrilled. He's like, "Oh, Sally, I did." He goes because he booked it on the ship when he was there the last time, because that's what a lot of clients do.
Right.
We had sent him to New Zealand and Australia, and when he gave me back, because he said, here's my booking, because I said, okay. And then I sent him over his invoice, and he's like, oh, I have a private car and driver option. Yes, you do. So he was very happy, and that's a beautiful value that we can give that a lot of agencies can't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was going to lead into like the next the next question I had, which was like, how do you stay competitive in the market? Because I know it's like so many shifts and changes, and I guess it's just like those little touches. Like I say little, but they just kind of go a long way, right?
Right. We have this gentleman right now. It's his wife's 50th birthday, flying in first class, of course, into Rome. And he wanted a cool car, because he lived there for 9 months and he wanted to drive a cool car there. I'm like, okay. So he's going up to Florence. He's going up to Tuscany. He has all these private tours. It's beautiful. And, we just made dinner reservations because we were thinking about what special restaurants to pick. So we're going through that. They're not leaving for another 3 weeks. He's had the list, so now I think he's ready to pick the restaurants. And those are just the small touches that all add up.
I mean, that seems like a pretty big touch to me.
It is.
I don't think you're going many places and they're going to help you with your dinner reservations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
But it's the value,
that's exactly
right?
what the
Like we're talking about
value
like
is.
perceived value, like
Correct.
the value when you book with like a private agency, like it's just how much value can you stack on top. And
That's the thing.
seems
right?
like a ton.
I think that's true to like the events you've been doing as well. You just had one Tuesday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was
a consumer event
It was a
with
cruise
Silver
line,
Seas.
right? So Sally hosts an event at a local restaurant, couple of hours where they bring in prospective clientele and representatives from the cruise line
Yep.
to educate them on what they can get, which again is a ton of value there. I mean, when do you get that opportunity as a consumer to sit in a room with maybe 50 people, 100
We had
people,
54 people. Mhm.
and hear from the horse's mouth, so to say, about the trip you can take, not even from you being the agent, from somebody that is from the cruise line. And
He flew up actually from Florida
Yeah.
to come do that for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I said, I'd love for you to partner with me. I have a lot of Silver Sea clients, but we also advertised it in local papers and sent it over to senior communities. And we sent out an email blast and, it was great. And I know that, and he gave us exclusive amenities, which was
Great.
phenomenal for our guests if they book in the next 2 weeks. And the people that know, they understand the value. The people that came are people that are interested and that some have pass sailed.
Right.
Some were new clients of ours that I never met before that they haven't booked with us. But already we had a couple of calls. Now that was on Tuesday night. We already had a couple of calls for people to come and sit with us and book their reservations.
Which is
So
great.
it's
I mean, I
good.
can't imagine. Listen, could somebody come to that on Tuesday night and get all that knowledge and information and go online and book their
Sure
own
they
trip?
can.
Of course they can. They can come to your office and sit with you, and we've had that conversation in the past, and pick your brain for all the knowledge and information and book online. But that's only one small part of the whole puzzle.
Mhm.
They're still going to miss out on everything that you help them with from the time they book until the time they get home from their trip. So the value that you keep adding on top of everything you already do, doing an event for people, probably giving them a cocktail or two. while they're
We did.
there,
Cocktail and food.
and being there whenever they need it is tremendous.
And the consumer events are wonderful because people don't know about the product.
No.
Some don't really know and they're not sure.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep doing them. We've had 3 already. We have 2 more left for the season, and then we're going to start in January again. So
awesome.
people should check us out, and they'll be on our website. They'll see the event pages on there.
Awesome, good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important too, like when you meet with somebody who has all that experience too, like you might think you want to go somewhere because you saw it on TV or you heard a friend talk about it, but then you didn't know about all these other options or all these other packages or all these other destinations or all these different services, and you're like, oh, now I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you only get that experience when you book with a travel agent like that,
Yeah.
And you know what's great about our agency is that we all travel. It's not just me.
Oh, everybody's
Like
always away.
I just had Erin was just
Erin
down.
was just at my all-time favorite place.
Couples
Yep.
Couples
Tower
Aisle.
We're going there next year. But she was just there.
Yep.
So it's funny. I sent her a message while she was there. I saw it on her Instagram. So I sent her a message while she was there, and then I sent her a screenshot of
Your itinerary.
my favorite bartender. I went on his Facebook.
Did she find him?
No, he must have been off. She couldn't find him. She's
Oh,
like,
I thought you were gonna send him like a screenshot. Look at my itinerary. Like I'm going there next year. Like
no,
here it is.
I
Like,
messaged her and I was like, "You're at like our favorite place ever," and go look for this guy, find him. He's great. If you could find him, he's there. We met him in 2008 was the first time that Sharon and I ever went there, and he worked there then, and he still works there now.
What does that show you? If you work there for that long, a great employee,
yep, and a great
and he
company
likes
to work for, too,
and he
obviously.
likes his job.
Yeah, especially because I see this a lot, Jose. I don't know if you will do, for whatever reason, my TikTok shows me a ton of travel stuff, and there's so much. Like, I'm blown away. Like, because I think I ended up following one person. I wanted to share it with you because she actually does some really cool videos. But she's pops up all the time, and there's just like new resort after new resort after new resort wherever you are.
Is that Jen Byrne?
I think it is.
I love Jen Byrne.
No, I think it's Jen
Tropical
Byrne.
Travelers. Love her. Love her.
It was funny. I saved it because the way she speaks in her video reminds me of you a little bit. And I'm just like, wow, this place is this. I've never heard of this place. I never heard of that place. And
she does a lot of boutique. I know.
The places are great, but
just keep.
I'm not even in the know. Like I feel like completely left out.
You just
but I'm not following this person on TikTok.
I'll find it for you. You just want to cruise. You went on vacation more recently than me, so I don't want to hear about not being in the know.
How was your cruise?
It was great. I had a great time. I mean, listen, I didn't bring my kids on the cruise, so it was destined to be a great cruise for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, when you have kids, Sally, you know this probably from when your girls were young. There's two kinds of vacations when you have kids. There's like real vacation when you don't take your kids, and then there's the vacation where you're kind of half working still when the kids come along.
That's for sure.
I did my part though, because there was a huge party on that cruise, and a lot of people brought their kids, and were shocked when we got there, and we didn't have ours, and I remember Cece was like, I didn't know there was an option, like this and that. But yeah, like
it's an option.
I was telling everybody.
I bet you they didn't know sending their face a cardboard cutout on a stick was an option either.
I love that.
What I did because I couldn't go.
Definitely not. But no, it was great. We had a great time. And it was just like the perfect amount of time, and I had no complaints at all. And
we booked a lot of rooms for you. I know that.
They did.
You guys were very busy. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Had a ball.
Do you have any so obviously throughout the 30 years, the more memorable experiences that you've had with clients? Any that stick out to you that you go, I remember this time or that time?
Well, the times that I think about when people are stressed and their flights have been canceled or something, moving people out. And I forget so many different stories like that. And people bring them up of how I saved the day. Those make me feel they make me feel good.
They should make you feel good.
Because Rob was just down at a hotel, and they were supposed to have the rooms connecting. It was just something, Oops, sorry. Just connecting rooms. They had them in two different buildings.
Huh.
They were supposed to be connecting. And he called me in a panic. And I called the owner of the hotel. I have her cell phone number.
How about that?
The owner. And I was going to go to my rep, and I said, I'm not going to my rep. I'm going to the owner. Yeah. And I immediately called her, and she's like, Sally Jane. And I said, babe, and I explained what happened. And she's like, send me their names immediately. He calls me back, goes, Sally, I know you're magic, but I don't know who you know, but now everybody is just like kissing the ring. Not only did he get his connected rooms, he got upgraded. They gave him a butler the entire week. He got private cabanas. It was unbelievable. He's like, I just can't believe it.
And
that was
what was
more
the
recent,
destination?
What, honey?
What was the destination?
That was Mexico. Yeah.
That's great.
But but we travel so much, and I've been on so many incredible journeys. I've been to Kenya and over to the Masai Mara. It was amazing. And, we've been to Dubai and India and Maldives. We've been all over Europe. Mm-hmm. Haven't been everywhere yet. I'm going. Been on a couple of river cruises. So I've experienced so many things. But like Shireen, she was away for 45 days. 45 days.
45 days straight?
45 days straight. And that young lady, who is, she's not retired. She retired. She worked for another agency for 38 years.
Tired, and then she came to work for you.
And then she came to work with me. She asked me, I said, that is the nicest compliment. This woman's wealth of knowledge is just incredible.
Where were they for 45 days? Like in
So
Europe?
Philippines,
Wow.
Australia, New Zealand, all cruises.
Okay.
And then she had a week in between, like she was on land, and Frank and her and a couple of her friends, they just travel. And there she is on her little iPad working from there. The bulk of things we took care of because
Yeah.
that's what we do with our team when our agents travel. But when she's like, "Oh, Sally," I'm like, "What are you working for?" She's emailing me. She's, "Oh, I have a little time." She's just the brain is just amazing. I love it. I love it. But 45 days.
That's just seems wild.
I know.
I don't know if
She's going to Egypt
I
right
don't
now
know
for
if
2
I
weeks.
could do it personally.
Oh, I could do it.
Well, she could probably live on a cruise. She's a
She
cruiser.
could. Yeah.
I just don't know if
Yeah.
I could.
I-
I don't know if I could. I mean, maybe. I don't know if that's a
Do
long
you-
time.
Do you think you could do it if you were retired or semi-retired?
Oh
and
yeah, for
had no
sure.
kids? Yeah,
No,
it's
for
different.
sure.
That's
He's thinking
what
about
I'm talking about. Like,
he's
you
I'm
thinking
have,
about
talking
the
about being out of
you
being
have
out of
young
disconnected.
children. Like you don't even have enough vacation time to do that.
Right.
Well, it's never even like crossed my mind. Like you
Yeah.
could disconnect for 45 days.
So I'll tell you a funny story about disconnecting for that long, right?
Yeah.
So probably, I don't know, 10 years ago or so,
Right.
Sharon and I were away and she was like, we should retire to Jamaica.
Oh.
Jamaica. And I did the math on how much money I'd need to live at the resort for 10 years,
Right.
assuming no discount for staying long periods of time. So I could absolutely be away for 45 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's crossed your mind. Like I say, it hasn't even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Now listen. Also, just a full disclaimer. I don't want to leave Jersey,
It's true. He
and
doesn't.
so like it's
If-
hard. Like I had a hard
If you
time.
move out of Jersey, he doesn't even want to go visit you.
I won't.
He's very spiteful
won't.
that way.
You won't?
No.
Well, and it's funny that you're like a huge travel person. So it's like my thing is this, right? If you leave the state, you left us, and you're like, hey, I want you to come visit me. Like but I've already been to that place. I have no interest. I have none,
So-
and that's probably terrible. Like it's a terrible thing to
But
say.
if you've
Probably
never been to where this person moves to, you'll go
I will consider it. Yeah,
once, and that's it. Though,
correct.
probably.
Because I don't have to go back. I don't like to go places I've been to twice.
Gotcha.
Okay. So no more cruise out of New York.
Yeah. See, there's
Correct.
See, like
That's fine.
I like
I'm with
I
you.
like to go places I've been before. Like for instance, I said we're going on where Aaron was just
Couples.
at. The couples. Yeah. I think next year's our 6th time we're going there. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And I like it a lot. And there's reasons I like it a lot. Now, listen, we are going to Dominican Republic in November.
I know. Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon, yeah. And I'm excited.
You should
And
be.
I'm sure we're gonna love it.
And Reese is
But I
going to
don't
love it.
think it's gonna stop me from wanting to go back to couples even more.
No, but
I
you
think
know
like
what?
it's like
I
I like the comfortability of it, and I find like at least for when we go away without the kid.
The
The
kid.
kid.
I know she's gonna hear this one day.
She is.
Oh,
she's
she
gonna yell at me.
is.
But when we go,
Reese, I love you.
When we go away without Reese, like I think it makes me more relaxed just to know.
Well, because
like,
you-
I know what I'm getting. I know where I'm going. I don't have to spend my vacation time exploring how to relax because I like to go and relax on vacation. Like, I
But
don't
you know
like
what?
to see a million
This
things.
that's you now.
Yeah. it'll be
Okay.
different at some
So
point,
I'll give
probably.
you a great example because we're big ships, this, that, very busy, right? Constantly traveling. And then Paul and I go on our first river cruise back in 2014. And then we come home and now we got to get on a big ship for an inaugural sail. And there's thousands of people on versus I had 110 people on the ship.
Wow.
I'm with
Right?
you on this.
And it
All
was
the way.
thousands of people.
Yep.
And it's the inaugural. So there's TV and newspapers and all the big dudes. Everybody's on this ship. And Paul and I are like, right? Oh my God, I can't stand this. And then all of a sudden I look at him and I go, you better snap out of it. We need to get back into the groove.
Yeah.
We're travel advisors. We own a travel agency. And Paul and I, 3 a.m. in the smoky, whatever bar it was, dancing.
Yeah.
We were up till 3 a.m.
Yeah,
And it was
but
just a 2-night cruise that
And
we did.
but just because it's different doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. You
Right.
still enjoy it. You just enjoy it differently. Like
Right.
I think that's like the whole thing of like going on vacation with the kids or not the kids or places you know.
I
Versus
just want to
not know.
see. I just want to like see as much as I can. Like, I mean, there's places that you're going to go to every year, or you try to make like like annual vacations. But I'm talking like more domestically, right? So you already have those days, and like for me, like I don't have 1,000 days to take off. I only have so many. So
Right.
it's like if you're going to
And they're valuable.
if you're going to burn these days, I don't say burn them, but like if you're going to burn these days with family on these trips, and you're going to burn and our family's huge on both sides. You're going to burn this family, this trip. You only have so many days to do something different. And I'm like, I don't want to go to Florida again. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Like, I've been to Florida. I don't have to see Florida again.
I get it,
I want to go somewhere, like another state. I don't know. Like, I just try to see as much as I can. So it's like,
which is cool.
it's hard.
I have a client that's they've gone every year, sandals.
Yeah.
They'll go over and ski in the wintertime, but sandals. And all of a sudden, and now they get their grandkids, so they did a cruise with them. Then they did another one. And then they have all these sandals booked up to 25. And then all of a sudden they said, you know what? We want to go to Alaska. You know what? We want to do this. And we moved around their sandals to do whatever because they decided now they wanted to start to see different things.
But I think
so
like,
it's an age thing, I think.
I think it coincides with like your lifestyle in general,
Mhm.
Like some people are the kind of people who could never stop. Like no matter what they do, you're a little like that.
I am.
Like you go, 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 go.
Yeah.
So even on vacation, you go, 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 and you're seeing things.
We see a
Like,
ton of hotels.
For me personally, like I can put my feet up and close my computer and relax for a couple of days, and not running around kind of helps with that. But yeah, you do see a lot of hotels.
You know what?
I did that once.
In Tahiti back in, that was 14, I think. That was 14. The cruise was 16. 2014, I went on the Paul Gauguin cruise. When we first got to Papeete, I had called about my international plan. The girl said she put me on, and my phone is blowing up. And they're like, and finally I call, and I'm like, why do you keep sending me messages? He goes, because you have no plan. I go, yes, I do. They said, you don't. So they took off, whatever. It was already up to like $500 or something, they said. It was crazy. So I shut off my phone. I came home. I was on that cruise for 7 nights. I had 2 nights in the beginning and 1 night at the end. I came home. I looked so well rested. My team in the office, Jen
Turn
looked
that
at me and she
phone back
said,
on.
oh my God, you look so well rested and young. I'm like, ooh, young? She
Throw his
goes,
phone in the garbage immediately.
it was in the safe. That's where it was. It came out for pictures and that was it. And
Sometimes you need to.
I took naps. I didn't do any work
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I'm terrible at disconnecting.
Yeah, that's sometimes
That is
terrible
not
at
Uh,
my
it.
gig. You know
No,
that.
I'm terrible at it.
Like there's a level of like I think having to disconnect and having to shut it off just to balance your life.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
I broke my phone for like a week and I didn't have a phone.
It's true. It was
And
tough.
How'd that go?
It was tough. It was tough for me, to be honest with you.
it was
I
it was
needed to
hard.
get things done, and I couldn't talk to him, so it was a problem.
It was tough. But like it just goes to show you like how much I can't disconnect. Like
Yeah.
I can't. Like there's rules like we have like no phones at the dinner table,
Mhm.
which is like
Good rule.
yesterday. Perfect example. I was texting you about something I forget. Right? Oh, about the email about
Mhm.
podcasting or something
Yeah.
like that. And I was standing right next to the dinner table over
You're
at my
in
mom's
trouble.
house. And Olivia goes to Erica and says, you know, Daddy's on his phone. And Erica goes,
Sold you out.
Erica goes, well, he's not sitting at the table. You see how he's standing next to the table? He's not sitting at the table because he knows if once he sits, he has to put the phone away. I said, I'm right in this conversation. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like, that's hard. I did find something. I got an ad, an Amazon ad recently about a phone lock.
Really?
Yeah, you could like put your phone in this thing and it'll lock
Oh,
for a certain amount of time.
I went to a
Oh.
concert that they were supposed to do that at. They never did.
So
it.
like I guess Amazon's telling me like the ad I need now is like I
Yeah.
need to have this device that I put my phone in, lock it, and I can't get it for a duration of time.
they
So
see
if
that your
it's 30 minutes or
your
so.
screen time is just going up and up and up continually, so they want to keep you.
That's
away.
a that's a thing that they sell though.
But,
Oh my
but yeah,
gosh.
but I mean, like
What else are they going to say?
all these
Everything.
things, right? You were able to not pay attention to your phone that week, and you came back to work, and everyone's like, "You look so well rested," and you're able to do it.
And my
though,
team
because you have your
survived.
team, and that's what I
They
was gonna say. It's like
survived.
you can do it. Like it's tough sometimes, like,
Yeah.
but you have great people, which I'm sure was an interesting and complicated and hard and joyous time growing a team of 20 some odd people to this
Yeah.
point, through different points, but you have them and you've trained them, and there's a bunch of little Sallys running around the office.
I do.
You do.
I do. I love
Yeah.
that because their mindset, if they don't really think like I
Yeah, it
do,
doesn't work.
and I want them to be their own personality, but they have to provide the service and do those extra things. We email every hotel before you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect an answer. If we don't get an answer, we pick up the phone. I need for them to know my clients are coming. So with that little hiccup, even though I sent an email, that room should have been connection.
Of course.
There was
Well, listen,
people are human. They
things
make
happen.
mistakes.
Yep.
Things happen.
I'm really big on that.
Yeah.
Like everyone's entitled to an off day.
Yeah. You just need to do your best to fix it.
That's all. It's how
That's
you
all have to
handle
do.
it.
Yeah.
If you don't handle it, and everybody, and some people will yes you,
Mhm.
but I still talk to the clients until I know it's done. And that's really important. My team does that
They're
all
great.
the time.
No, they're
Well,
awesome.
you take those lessons that you learn, right? You're talking about like, don't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how you believe now. Like, did you believe it to be true? Like that's how we handle it. I bet you nobody in your office doesn't take no for an answer.
No, they don't. And let me tell you, it starts with an email. And then 3 seconds later, I'm texting whoever it was. And then I'm picking off the phone within 5 minutes. Right, Tommy?
Listen, so I would say I talk to Sally on a fairly frequent basis. I don't know that I've ever talked to Sally where she didn't have a phone on her other ear as well. And I didn't know if she was talking to me or the person on the other side. And I think in 2023, where we sit, that's a lost art, that form of communication. It's just people don't want to pick up the phone anymore.
Right.
And the fact that like you're willing to do it, and it's more complicated because you could have fired off an email
And been done.
called it a day
Yeah.
and wiped your hands with it and waited for the response. But instead you needed to have the response and you get it.
I find that it's the tone gets lost in translation in email. And I do a
Oh,
ton
yeah.
of email
No,
at
you're
work.
right.
I mean, I do a ton of email.
Yep.
And I still find that you go like, it's hard to really either understand how like the level of desperation I need you to resolve this,
Correct.
or urgency rather,
Yep.
or my tone isn't as angry as that may appear in an email. Like
Right.
let's just have a conversation.
Was it in capital letters and all red? No,
Nah, I don't
But-
do caps.
no,
You got to be
but
like
some
on the
people-
fourth, fifth
some people-
reminder before me to start throwing caps and red
Somebody
text.
does caps because they can't read. I'm like, you can't do
Yeah.
that because they think you're
They're mad.
hollering.
Yeah.
They think you're
Yeah,
hollering.
well, obviously the etiquette, right, of all
Yeah.
these different,
And like you
types
said,
of
though,
communication.
I think most importantly, it's really hard to craft your email or the written word to convey your tone that somebody can get from a 30-second phone conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's exactly what happens. You email,
And
email.
I love being on the phone. I love talking
Do
on
you?
the phone.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like talking to people. I mean, I think and it probably goes for everybody. There's certain people I'd rather email or text than talk to on the phone.
Yeah.
For whatever the reason is. Sometimes it's more effective. Sometimes it's less effective.
Well, it's
I
how
think
they
it's,
might
like,
communicate better too.
Correct. And it's like you have to, a big thing everybody always talks about is, hey, like when you have, say somebody inquires and they inquired via email, unless they specifically asked you to call, your first response back should be via email.
Oh, yeah.
And mirror the way that they brought it in, because I saw this thing, I think we've talked about it before, but Gary Vaynerchuk does this thing where he talks about how your phone, your computer, your iPad is just an extension of your arm. It's always in your hand. You always have it. And the convenience of sending emails or texts as opposed to phone calls, because now you send me an email or a text and I can reply when it's convenient for me. But if you call and I pick up, I'm now talking to you on your time, essentially, is the idea. And I think there's like huge benefit to both, really. But when something's urgent and you need your answer and you send an email, that other person is going to reply when it's convenient for them.
Well, we just had an incident yesterday in a very nice hotel, and the client sent pictures, and my advisor was trying to take care of it for hours. And she called me and she said, I'm sorry to bother you, but I need your help. I need the big guns. I said, okay. So we called down to the resort, and she called down and got disconnected, on hold, whatever. This girl says, we're working on it. They're fine. We're in communication. She's in communication with the client. They weren't in communication, but they were trying to do their job.
Right.
But someone just needs to tell you, right? So finally we get this girl on the phone, and I said, honey, I need a duty manager. All right. And I explain who we are, and I tell them our status with their company. We do a lot of business with them. So we get this woman on the phone. Her name was Simone. She was amazing because she took responsibility. And even though it wasn't her job.
Mhm.
She made sure we sent over the emails that she went, oh, right. Oh, we sent down this information, they said they never got it. Oh, let me send it. Oh, it went to the GM. And they responded to my agent. So that there was an issue.
Yeah.
We were on the phone for an hour. Do you mind holding? Not at all.
Yeah.
You just
I'm
keep
huge
me on the
that.
phone.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm doing
I'd rather
other
be
work.
resolved.
And my advisor's on the phone with me, and she's there. She's like, I'm sorry, Sally. I'm like, it's all right. Because and guess what? I said, give that client love. We have a great partnership. I expect you to help us because we did our job. And granted, the room wasn't up to the standards it should have been. We should never, I don't know why the housekeeper or the maintenance person didn't notice,
Yeah.
there was issues.
Mhm.
And it was a gorgeous room, but that had to be taken care of.
But I'll tell you this though, and if you email constantly with people, it's harder to resolve something over the phone when you need it
Mhm.
because all you've done is through email.
You have no rapport.
There's no relationship.
Yeah.
So, and I have a lot of nice relationships out there.
Like that's
and she was fabulous.
Yeah.
And she knew who we knew, and she wanted to help. And that's what I loved. But you have to get the right person on the phone.
100%.
My advisor tried and she kept, oh my God, Sally. I'm like, oh, it's all right. We'll make it happen. And if somebody hung up, I pick up the phone and call again until I get through. That's all.
I was trying to do something yesterday completely unrelated to work or traveling or anything. And I couldn't get an answer. And I'm digging through this app that I have to use. And I finally find the contact section. And the only way to contact is through the chat or the phone or or email. There's no
Right.
phone number, nothing. Now, truth be told, it wasn't the most pressing of matters. Okay, fine. Do resorts try to do that? Like where they try to let you not call them? Is that a thing? Like, do they want you to?
Some of you mean try to not get the direct number.
Yeah.
So some of the resorts do have that.
That's
And
not complicated. Now you
yes,
know people.
but I dig
Yeah.
and I find things.
Yeah.
But small hotels always have their contact,
Yeah.
but they have emails on top. The numbers might be
Sure.
hidden in the bottom or
But I
whatever.
would just think like a lot of like these like big massive resorts too.
Marriott's so difficult to get through.
Marriott.
You have to hit a button.
Can I
Wait.
say something about Marriott?
Go ahead.
They
Oh,
have
boy.
the worst websites ever.
They do.
They're
And-
terrible. They're
Yeah.
just like the information's there, I guess, but it's super hard to find it.
It is.
And they have no pictures of anything. I feel
They own
like.
thousands of hotels.
Yeah, I get
Thousands.
it. I get it. I understand. Like, but they got enough money to pay people to make that part of things better.
It could be more appealing.
But I was just curious, like, because I could see, like, you go to one of these, giant, huge, interconnected. It's 4 resorts in one. There's thousands of people staying there. There's hundreds of travel agents that have booked those people there.
Well, you have that
Them-
main number and how hard it is to get to the right person.
Right. So like you have the number, it's hard to get to the right person. I can only imagine that like they're trying to do whatever they can do to not make the phone ring because even without issues, the phone's going to ring constantly.
Right.
It's crazy.
Well, what's going to happen is you're going to get the number finally.
At some point, you're going to get the number.
they're not set up to take so many calls.
Right.
Now you're on hold.
Well, that's the problem.
And then you
right?
go,
You
Well,
should see my
well-
phone bill.
Or
well, then
get-
why'd you
or you
why'd
get
you press the number?
You get transferred from here to there,
Yeah.
to there, to there.
And they don't
to
know.
there.
Like
Right.
someone's going
But
to get the phone
eventually you
transferred
get
that they
there.
never answered the
Sooner or
blow the
later.
dust
Well, you
off
have
the
to be
phone.
persistent. You
do.
have to be persistent.
But that's where you earn your money too. And I think that's what people like going back to the earlier part of the conversation of like, the value that's there. Like that's you earning your money, sitting on hold for 2 hours because somebody's room didn't connect. Which listen, not a big deal. Not maybe the biggest deal, but important for them.
Yeah.
But
That was way faster though.
well, you
one
called the
was.
owner, but that's
I did.
different.
That's the
But
only.
you don't know the owner of every resort.
No, I don't. But
You
I
know, like,
know
you have a
many
lot-
general managers, many
correct.
directors of sales. So we have great relationships out there. Caribbean and Mexico, we can
Yeah.
book that with our eyes closed.
100%.
Yeah.
So real quick, the whole I guess like the way everything kind of transformed from like paper to digital. What was that like for you? Like
Very
I know,
difficult.
I know
'Cause
you
I
guys
still
are,
have
but you guys
paper.
are super digital now.
Yes, but I like my paper. I like my paper.
Yeah.
is my paper trail, and I must have it. Although Jen would love us to be a paperless office.
Are you
She would.
talking about paper trail like when you have a booking, you want to put
I
in
take notes.
contract? You take, I've
I
always
take
seen you
notes.
take notes.
We send, and everything is through the computer, but I have to have paper.
Gotcha.
It's hard for me.
I think that's
I used to
okay,
be
though.
Post-it note girl. Now at least I'm
Oh.
notebook girl.
Jose loves a post-it note.
Well, I'm a huge Post-it fan. Now, and 3M sponsor us. I say this though, and I mean to start asking more people on the podcast this question because I'm like in a really big pursuit of being organized. What do you use to organize yourself? What are you using? Just a notebook, like pen and paper notebook?
So I'm a pen and paper girl. Okay. So I when I interview with a client, I ask a ton of questions. I get all their information, and I snap it and I send it over to my support desk to get it in the system. And now it's in the system. They attach my paper, so I didn't lose it. It's still in my book because I'm still going to work out of that book.
So they're putting the notes in the computer.
They
then
actually
they're
take the
gonna
paper,
put
scan it,
that's
hold it
cool.
in there.
I
So I have my
like that.
paper trail, set up the profile for you, set up the res card, and then we start to book. So I'm calling vendors, I'm emailing over, asking, because some of them might not have certain hotels. I know basically where I'm going to put people at the time when I'm doing a destination. And, everything email, yes. And then all of a sudden I'll have done that, and I might have sent it to 2 different tour operators who's coming back with different options and what their looks are and feel and what they're putting in. And then I pick which one, or I send it or I tweak them and we send it out to the client. Meanwhile, nothing goes in that system until we actually book it. And now we book it, we put down our money, it's being imported in the system. Now we have live booking. And that live booking is that my assistant can go in there, support can go in there, my office manager can go in, the receptionist. Oh, he just came in with a payment trails, everything is in there, front and back office, which is huge because we didn't have that for years. Remember, we had nothing. And then all of a sudden we had ACT, I think it was called. ACT 1.0, 6 was up to 6.0. And then we got this thing called Trams or Trace and client base. So it's travel agent built, which is wonderful. It imports all our, like our cruises and our tour operators. So it makes it look beautiful. Our invoices look
basically
beautiful.
like a CRM
for
of
travel,
sorts
but
for travel.
industry
yeah.
specific.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
also have something, it's called Cruise Track. Cruise Track we invested in a couple of years ago. So every time a client books a cruise with us, we actually put it in our system and it tracks where there's a better price point. It's usually not with the big dogs, not the contemporary lines. Like you still get them over for Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Celebrity, and Princess. But when you get to Oceania and Silver Seas, I just saved somebody $850, and I upgraded their room
That's great.
on it. So it's either a Silver Seas or it has
So
a
this
Mara,
basically goes, hey,
Oceania.
these guys are doing this. These
Yes,
guys are
I got
doing
a private,
that.
or you get a private car and driver. We
pretty
see
cool.
that every day we get something in, and we can look and we can see it online. Nope, the rate's not good. It's good to jump it or whatever.
You know what's great about that though? Like, again, like you're willing to go, hey, I can save you money, which I think my assumption is right. You get paid a commission from wherever you book somebody to.
We do,
right?
but we charge for our services.
Well, you charge for your service.
Yeah.
I know that, but ultimately, like you're making money from a commission from the cruise line or from the resort or whoever it works. You save somebody money, you make less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fact that like you're willing to do that after the fact, hey, I can get you this, I can get you that. It's not going to charge you whatever it is. Like there's so few people would do something like
Yeah.
that.
But it's for the good of the client.
It's for the good of the client.
And the other thing that we have is called Pocket Travel App.
Oh, I know
That
about
is
Pocket Travel.
amazing. That is our documents. You did the documents that
Yeah.
way. And everything's at your fingertips.
I'll tell you, I got to go my Pocket Travel app just to look at my previous trips. 'Cause it was all
You
there.
can see the
And I'm
previous
starting-
trips. You can see both of your trips there.
Because when we were going on the cruise, and I was all of a sudden I opened the Pocket Travel app, and it's like previous trips of Sedona. I was like, I remember that one too.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
great. So
See,
I'm like,
but this is going to be good for
I
you when
gotta
you
start-
travel to different places.
correct. I got to start stacking them up.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's like a modern day passport,
It
Yeah.
is.
right? Like
It is.
Well, you know, because like that's what kind of sucks about your passport is like after 10 years, you lose all your stamps. They're gone.
They send it back.
Yeah, but you don't look at it. Like,
I
you don't
know.
look at the old one.
I get. Well, you can get the extra thick book. That's what I have.
Well, you need I don't need an extra thick. No, you need an extra thick.
You need
They
like
do.
a passport case and stuff
They
like
do.
that. Mine's just like in my top drawer. Just
exactly.
hanging out.
Mine's just there. Like it's
And that's just some of the It's just
one stamp a year over at mine.
So
It's okay.
as we start wrapping it up here, what I guess one of the questions too is like, what advice would you give somebody? And this is like a 2-part question, right? So what advice would you give to a new travel agent or travel advisor as you would? And then also, what advice would you give somebody who's like, hey, listen, I think I'm going to start an agency?
so a new travel advisor, and we're welcome. Everybody wants somebody to come in, but their personality, because there's always a seat on the bus, right? But when you're a travel advisor, you have to think differently than the person that's the receptionist or the support person. So you have to have this. You have to have some type of passion for travel. That's very important. I can meet a client or a friend, and you're perfect. You'd be perfect as a travel agent. She goes, oh, my friends always say that. And why? Because you're organized. You have to be organized because there is a lot of paperwork. When you look online, on Facebook and Instagram, it's the glitz and glamour, but they don't know about the times that I'm up till 3 a.m. doing work because that's what I do because I'm passionate. So you have to have a passion for travel if you want to be an advisor. You truly do. You have to want to learn or want to travel, and you want to put together these incredible journeys. So you might have a niche for, adventure travel or, destination weddings
Gotcha.
or Disney or whatever you want. There's all these different places to go to be passionate. And you start at one and you work your way out. But you need to find somebody like our agency. Like there's a certain training that you go through that you must go through before you can even start to become an assistant. I can't even touch you for 2 to 3 weeks. Jen won't let me because there's certain things that you have to learn, and it's all back office, whether it's client base or it's signature training. And then there's a thing called CTA, and there's beautiful courses that you can take. And it's important for that person to get on the ground and up and running. Now with Signature, we have a beautiful thing called Embark, and anybody that's a new agent for the first 2 years, we can send them on this mentorship they have to have like a mentorship with me and come in, whether it's Jen or whatever, or one of my other agents. But they kind of go hand in hand for 2 years with them. But we've put people on the floor within a year to a year to a year and a half to actually go out on their own.
Wow.
On our floor.
Okay.
Which is great.
I mean, that's a long process, though.
It is.
So you have to. I mean, what's cool though, I guess, from your perspective, is if someone's committed to going through that and they make it, you got them.
Yeah,
for the most part.
And you could actually make. See, now it's funny because I had Diane Turton call me the other day, and she said, "Sally, I need flights," and I was at Pearl Harbor. I'm like, "Babe, I'm at Pearl Harbor. I can't get them done right now." She goes, "I need an extra flight for Bruce," and I'm like, "All right." So let me tell you how to. She goes, "I can do it. Can I do it?" I go, "Let me tell you what to do." I told her what to do. So she writes me back and she goes, "I did it." She goes, "I could work for you." I go, "Honey, you can't take the pay cut, but you would love the perks."
Yeah, I don't think she give up her real estate empire.
I know she's amazing. But it's important. I lost my train of thought. I lost it.
No, but like you're putting people on the floor for a year.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
process.
Yeah, because it is a process, but you can make money and see the world.
What?
That's what it is.
And that's like when you talk about the fringe benefit, I guess, of a job. That's a great one.
I know
that very few people travel for work to anywhere.
Have
cool
fun.
and have fun.
Yeah.
So you can talk to people about probably one of the most fun things they're ever going to do. And taking vacation or planning their honeymoon or a destination wedding.
Yeah.
Get to travel and go see a bunch of places. It sounds like a pretty good
It's
deal.
awesome.
And get paid for it.
I think it's like comparable though to like any like service industry though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like I did real estate for like 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years. And like once you like pass like your straight tests and things like that, you're kind of doing the same thing where like you're kind of going through like these trainings with your specific broker that you chose.
Right.
Things like that. I mean, I don't think you have to take a test or a license to be a travel agent.
You don't,
But-
which we should.
But the
should.
training they're getting is for real.
Yeah.
Like the onboarding is for real.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's different. No different than like DJing.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't need a license to DJ.
No.
But how you
But
onboard
you still have
or
to.
how a company onboards you as a DJ is different.
Yeah, and even with that, you know what I mean? There's people that just go and
Go ahead, start. You're
get
in.
some music and get some equipment and go, I'm a DJ. And then there's some people that, the way when I started DJing, I didn't go out and just DJ parties on my own for like 3 years.
That's what I'm saying.
you
Like
know?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like to
So-
have an onboarding like that is, I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important because not
For both
everybody
sides.
does it. Yeah,
For the
not
agent and
everybody
for the
does it.
agency.
Like you're also dealing with, the resort part of things aside, but you're very oftentimes sending people out of the country. Maybe it's their first time. So everything ultimately, even though there has to be, I guess, some personal culpability in making sure things are done right, they're still going to come to you for all the advice on how do I get my passport? Where do I get my passport? My passport's going to expire. What do I do?
You need travel insurance.
Exactly. You need travel insurance. I don't need that. Well, yeah, you do need that because here's why. Or, I know now that there's all different ever since the incident, we'll call it. Everybody has different documentation now you need to fill out online before you enter countries
Yep.
that you didn't always have to do.
You're going to have a visa going into Europe next year, starting in January.
Doing all
Not
of
all
that,
places, but most.
Doing all of that without somebody in the know is complicated. But also, we talked before, I go, oh, it seems like, you can just go online and take a course and be a travel agent to some degree, we'll call it. Like, there's a little more responsibility to it. Like, I couldn't, I mean, personally, like, I wouldn't be comfortable if I was like, Sally, I want to be a travel agent. And a week later, you're like, here, go on this website, find some stuff and send these people to another country. Like, but I think people kind of do that a little bit.
Yeah. We'd be like, hey, Sal, I want to be a travel agent. Like, okay, well, here's what I need you to do. You're going to start booking the Cape May Ferry. That's where you're starting. I'm like, all right, listen, I can do it. I can get you on the Cape May Ferry about now, like 3 days a week because of the fees. Like, I mean, you got to start somewhere though.
Yeah,
I think it's
true.
It's just like in giving people a chance to start somewhere. Like, I think that's important.
Yeah,
So, and again, I think the onboarding for you and for the agent, I think it's hand in hand. Like, they're committed to put that much time in to really learn how to do this, and you're not putting in that time and then wasting it for somebody who's like not committed on the other end.
Right.
I think it's important.
I know there was like a 2-part question too.
Yeah,
The other part was about someone that's going to start their own agency.
Like I did.
Like you did. Like lots of people did. Is that something like,
Are people doing that anymore?
that's my question.
Yeah,
Are
they
people
are.
Sorry to
doing
cut you
that?
off, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
they are. And I think a lot of people go to host agencies. They're independent contractors
Okay.
when they're starting their own. That's what I was. I was an independent contractor. I was Travelsmiths and I worked for Travel Plaza.
Right.
So my business card said Travelsmiths associated with Travel Plaza.
Right.
So that was the legal way to do it. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of agencies out there, one man shows, one gal shows, and they have, their bucket of clients, but they have, a lot of them are with host agencies. But I have 4 independent contractors and we're a family.
Mhm.
And I think the host agencies, it's not for me. There's hundreds or thousands of people just doing their own thing. I don't think they get the
The
touch
service.
points like we have.
Well,
Yeah.
there in reality also couldn't be any real continuity within that agency of the way one person does it to the way another person does it.
And I can't even imagine running that type of business because I'm in the business of travel. So we do a team meeting every single day, and my team comes on every single day. And we have tour operators that come in, resorts, cruise lines, and they do the Google Meet, or they come in the office and bring us lunch and still do the Google Meet for the people that don't come in or whatever. But we give so much education to my team. And I don't know if the when they start, that to me is scary. I would think that you'd want to be an independent contractor with a smaller agency because they hold your hand. Well, I do anyway. I don't know what other agencies do, and some.
Is it almost like franchising in a sense?
So there's a couple of big agencies out there that are franchised. So you pay a fee. That's a lot of money to pay a fee because our margins are very small in travel.
Was your question really about the host agency thing?
Yeah, like almost in a sense where like if you're, let's say Travelsmiths was a host agency,
I think
you kind of lose the touch.
I think
Yeah.
a talent agent is probably a better.
You know what I mean? Like,
So like, let's say you're like a lot of bands do this, right? So there's a lot of bands. There's all these bands that play the Jersey Shore, right?
Right.
And they're all their own business. They're
Right.
independent contractors, essentially.
Right.
But then there's the agency
Right.
that does all the booking for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like that's I think a little bit more like the
Yeah.
like this scenario,
Yeah.
right? Like they'll do their own
Yeah.
thing. They have their own clients, but they're all booking it. It's still getting booked under the umbrella of
It does.
the host agency,
Right.
essentially, right?
Yeah, but and there might be host agencies that are much more interactive, but
I'm sure
those have to be
all-
smaller ones because
yeah.
the big ones I just can't even.
You kind of get lost in the shuffle.
I
Almost.
think
Yeah.
well, you're a number. I'm not a number.
That's what I
girl.
mean. That's what I'm
I know
getting
my numbers, but I need to be known. People need to know who I am. I'm not just number
Yeah.
462.
at. Yeah.
No,
No.
For sure.
yeah, and that's the difference, and that's not my style.
Not at all.
And it works for the big host agency people and the people. I just think that they're missing out. The ones that are starting in their.
They don't know any other way.
No,
right?
I
Like,
know.
They don't know any better, essentially.
I know, and
right?
I've met some gals and guys that have done it that way, and they like it, but they don't know the other side.
Right.
And that's I would say, find a small agency that because we're small but mighty,
Yeah. For sure.
and I think we're one of the largest privately owned agencies in New Jersey.
Right.
It's
yeah.
great.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
So as we get to the end here, we like to ask everybody this question, and it is: what is your favorite Jersey Shore memory?
Oh, my Jersey Shore memories. So, well, I've grown up here in the Jersey Shore. So, I mean, ever since I've been a little girl in Point Pleasant. And then my husband and I, before we were husband and wife, we moved to the Jersey Shore. We backed down because I was living up north. And we just, we love being, we're not even beach people, but we're outdoor people. We're nightlife people.
Mhm.
We're activity people. And I would say that working on the Jersey Shore with my husband back in the 80s, bartending was probably one of my fondest.
Bet
memories.
there's some wild stories that could be
There
told.
is so many great stories.
Right.
And we did Belmar. I was at DJ's. He was at Key Largo and Pier Pub. It was awesome. And because we got to work and play together.
Yeah.
And the best part about that, because he was with a Jersey girl, even though he met me in South Orange, this is where we came
Yeah.
down to live.
Mhm.
And we just, because we have so much fun together. And we're
Yeah.
still together after 42 years.
Still
And we're at the Jersey Shore. He's a sailor. I love sailing. He just, he's fantastic. And I wouldn't be, I'm so blessed and so happy that he did ask me to marry him. And he says that he's happy that I kept him.
I love it.
But
I
Paul
love
is amazing. And my Jersey Shore memories really belong to my husband and I, even though I grew up down here and I've got some great stories. But bartending in Point Pleasant, we were all over Belmar. We were everywhere.
I love it. I love it.
27 years bartended.
That's a long time
I
to
know.
bartend.
I
That's a long
know.
time. So, Sally, before we're done, just tell everybody real quick where they can find you in person, on the internet, all that good stuff.
Okay, so Travelsmiths is in Point Pleasant. We're at 1100 Route 88, but I want to say 1100 Ocean Road in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Our phone number is 732-899-8400. You can visit us at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have it all, right?
Yep.
And it's under Travelsmiths. And I want to leave you with one thing. Life is what you make it. And I'm going to make mine a vacation.
Love it.
Love it. Well, we appreciate you coming on. It's been great, and we're really looking forward to this one for a long time.
I know. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
My
All right.
pleasure.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Coffee Before You Talk to Me. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Bean Muggin Coffee Co. and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep that coffee hot. And please, coffee before you talk to me.